The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
The mind of Pat Popolizio is a wondrous thing. And for you Pack Wrestling fans, you'll get to go inside the mind of the Skip each and every episode here on the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. Now, here's your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast, episode number 51, by the way. I'm your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt, and I always have a nice big spiel about who our guest is this week, but this man needs to an introduction. Well, actually, we should probably do some kind of intro. We haven't heard from this individual for days, for weeks, even months on this podcast. But today we get the return of the head coach of the Wolfpack, Pat Popolizio. Pat, you really had that summer tan in full effect. Thanks for actually being on your own podcast today.
Brian, it's great that you finally made a little time, got in here, and good to see you again.
Patrick, if I've
been chasing you around because you've been on vacation more than anybody. No,
Patrick, if you go back into the archives, you'll see we have had many guests on this summer. Some great content here on the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast, but everybody wants to hear from the Skip.
Yeah, well, we're gonna cover a lot. Looks like we got a lot.
We're gonna try to cover a lot
here. I think first and foremost, we should talk about your Grape Ape smoothie that you got. That's actually beating up on my new table. So.
You got some
coaster?
Very nice office equipment in here. A brand new desk, and yes, you did buy me a nice smoothie.
I think it was
a small, but it's still very.
You requested a small.
I tell you what, it is a very refreshing smoothie from Planet Smoothie.
It's good.
Can we not sell ads? That was a perfect ad read there.
We've been getting more and more.
I'm trying to enjoy my smoothie. You're making me talk. But now. Your allotted media time is very limited, so let's start with some housekeeping items. You had a change in your coaching staff this summer. Obi Blanc, he took the head assistant job up at North Dakota State, and you elevated Timmy McCall into his role. Now, before we talk about Timmy, he's officially a volunteer assistant coach. A lot of colleges this past offseason have added that role to their staff, but NC State was one of the first ones to start that trend many years ago. Can you tell our listeners what that role on your squad is?
Yeah, it's an extremely valuable role in the first place. And, Timmy's been with us now almost 5 years, or right around 5 years, coming from Wisconsin and obviously wrestling high school in North Carolina. So he brought a lot of value, reconnecting some things that we were looking for within the community. And then, once we got to know him and what he's about, and anybody that's ever had an interaction with Timmy McCall knows he's a first-class type guy and just good quality human being all around, and that's what we needed to surround our guys around. Someone that's a great mentor that, wrestling side of things is one thing. I think we all know that he knows how to wrestle and how good he is as a wrestler, but I think the leadership qualities that he brings and his work ethic, there's just so many positive things that he will implement into our program, and a lot of times you need that gap, bridge that gap between, the athletes and the staff, and sometimes that role's a younger generation role that can do those kind of things. So there's a lot of value there where he can relate to some things that are going on day to day and communicating that to the staff. So, that's going to be an important part. And Timmy's, his roles every day, he can do almost everything we're doing outside of the visits off campus. So, he can travel with the team. He can work individually with the guys. He can be at every workout. He can text recruits. So he can evaluate on the computer. There's a lot of things he can do outside of just physically traveling off campus to go see a recruit. So, yeah, we look forward to him continuing to elevate our program, and his work ethic and attitude is going to have a major impact this year.
As you said, Timmy McCall, he's been heavily involved with the Wolfpack wrestling program for a number of years. Originally from Hope Mills, North Carolina, he was an NCAA qualifier up at Wisconsin during his collegiate career, and then he came down here and he was a member of the Wolfpack Wrestling Club, and he's competed internationally since 2015. He also works extensively with athletes in action here on campus. As a head coach, how excited are you for him to get this opportunity as the next phase of his wrestling career?
Yeah, it's good. These guys that are here training, at some point they're individual careers are going to come to an end, and they got to make that decision if they want to coach or get out and find other opportunities out there. And I think Timmy's talked openly about it, how he wants to help and mentor people and athletes, and there's no better way to do that than coaching. And he will make a great coach. He already is, and I think the things that he can learn day to day are going to put him in position, just like everybody else that comes through here as an assistant coach. You know, a lot of times their ultimate goal is to be a head coach, so I think we have good things in play for these guys to continue to climb the ladder in their careers. And I think some people, you know, sometimes see it as a negative when people move on, but I think it's a positive that we can continue to grow coaches and give them opportunities to take the next phase in their career. So that's going to be the long-term goal. He also, I don't think many people know, but he's got a guitar and can sing. So we're going to have to get him on the podcast for one of the songs. How about that challenge right there?
That would be pretty good.
Yeah, I've seen some videos, but now we're going to have to actually get him on the podcast, see what he can bring to the table.
Have song of the day.
Song of the day.
I like that.
He's got to sing something about you, though. How's that?
Kind of flabbergasted.
I stumped you finally.
You did. Now, we haven't talked team updates too much in these summer episodes of the podcast, so wanted our listeners to hear about some of the guys. First, Nick Reenan, he had surgery after the season. He actually suffered that injury during the season, but continued to wrestle into the NCAAs. How is he progressing this summer, and any kind of timetable on a return to full action? Yeah, the progress has come good. Talked with Will and Rob. Met with the doctors last week. The stability in the ACL is very good, so that's a positive, and his strength is going up. So I think it's just one of those, we got to continue to be patient, take our time, and I think it's like any other injury you get. It really comes down to the confidence level once you get healthy, and that's going to be the biggest thing on when he will be able to return. But I see him, by the end of the first semester, somewhere in there, if needed, we'll be able to have him, and we'll get him ready to roll. But yeah, he's been looking good. At least this is a good time for him to focus on strength and conditioning, because his size right now, I think weight-wise, he's up to about 215. So he looks big, and now we just got to work our way back into getting in shape. So we'll get a little bit of that body fat down. But he looks big, so, which is good for us, because it'll spread our lineup out a little bit and give us another great quality guy at another weight that is much needed. Reenan loves a good weight cut.
Yeah, he doesn't have to worry about cutting anyway. He's going to have to cut a little fat off. That's about it.
Tariq Wilson, he missed about 2 months of action last season with a foot injury before returning to the postseason, and he was one win away from All-American honors. We didn't see Tariq in any freestyle tournaments this summer. How is he doing?
Good. He's had a productive summer. He's been here training, he's been full-time healthy, and we knew, he was a little banged up at the end of the year, so we elected to take the spring off from freestyle and get 100% healthy, and then just focus on summer training and areas of weakness that we've attacked this summer, and he's improved tremendously with it. And going up a weight class next year, he's put some good size on, because him and Hayden work out together, and I can't tell, when they're sitting there wrestling each other, they're not far off probably from the same weight. And I know Hayden talked about it the one day, that a couple pounds off probably from each other now. So. Oh,
you listened to previous podcasts?
Yeah, I have.
Oh,
I actually have. So
I didn't know that.
We're good. Don't worry about it. But yeah, Hayden and Tariq, they've been having some good workouts. It's been fun watching these guys wrestle through the summer and continue to get better. And they all have different areas that they need to get better at. So when you see them guys wrestle and someone's good in a position, they can attack someone else's weakness, and that's how you get them where they need to be. So going to have a big year from him next year, and it'll be exciting, him moving up a weight class, and it's going to be fun to watch. Tyler
Barnes was planning to redshirt last season as a freshman anyways, but he got hurt in the first tournament of the season and missed the entire year. His surgery was an awful long time ago, but how has his recovery and work at practice been?
Same thing, it's one of those where confidence matters, and I think it's taken him up to the end of the summer to have full confidence again on, the injury that he faced, because it was a pretty nasty injury, and he's back to 100%, and, continuing to make steady climb and improving in areas that he needs to. But he's shown a lot of bright future for him and improvements that I think next year he's going to have himself in position to compete for the starting spot, and I think that's what we need right now is we got a guy returning that's really good and another guy right there that's going to push them, and it's going to make one of those guys right where they need to be. Competition's going to make both these guys work harder, and we'll leave it up to them who decides. But, I know we're going to have two really good options at 65 next year, and if one of them needs to go up to 74, they can. And guys are going to get challenged, and I think that's good. And, you talked about it. We got hit a little bit with the injury bug last year, so we're getting everybody close to 100%. And that's why I think this offseason was a little lighter in the competition outside of some individuals, but these guys were still here working hard, training. So, yeah, that part's been positive.
Well, why don't we just move away from injuries? We'll talk about redshirt freshman Trent Hidley is about to make a trip over to Estonia in mid-August to compete at the 2019 Junior World Championships. His first world team, his first time to Europe, so I know he's really excited. How has his training gone for this tournament, and what are your expectations?
Yeah, he's done a phenomenal job to prepare, making a world team and finally getting a breakthrough and being the number one guy in the U.S., and that goes back to his work ethic, attitude, and belief. And I think it's a perfect storm for him because he's surrounded by some of the best guys right here in this room. When I look around and you got Machiavello, Timmy McCall, Tommy Gant, Lee Davis, those guys pushing him. And then, you got the current roster guys too. Anytime you turn around, he's getting a good quality workout and getting pushed. And, you got guys, he's sitting in here watching Nick work out every day, and I think that kind of fuels these guys, and they know, Nick's bringing home world medals. Sean did it last year at the UW23s, and these guys know they're not far off, and it comes down to confidence, belief, and he doesn't need to wait. You don't need to go, second or third time to the World Championships to bring home a gold medal. I think it's in his mind right now that he's focused, zoned in on nothing less than bringing home a gold medal, because that's the commitment he's made to the sport.
And we saw it a little bit last summer. You guys had to deal with it. Hayden and Sean both went and competed in a freestyle tour they competed in freestyle during the season.
Yeah.
How does a guy like Trent train freestyle and folk style during the summer?
We balance it off pretty good. We still attack areas that we know next year when we're in the national tournament, and you're wrestling one of the better guys in the country where we got to continue to improve. And then we're also working on the freestyle side of things, so when we're out there in the World Championships, we're not missing a beat. So the luxury is there's a lot of time in the day right now for these guys that are just focused in on wrestling and taking a class. And he did that. He balanced it very well with wrestling one day freestyle, one day folk style, kind of switching back and forth. But he's out there right now, heading out towards Colorado Springs for a little training camp, and then he'll head out to go compete. So he's going to be ready, and it's just fine-tuning a couple things.
Who's going to get to go with him from the coaching staff?
Yeah, it's going to be a busy summer and fall going in with having Nick at the World Championships and Trent. So Kevin's going to get his feet wet on his first international trip outside of when we went to Italy. It'll be good. He'll be out at the training center. Adam will be out there. Right now, Tommy, Mock, Nick are all out there, and Adam Hall will be flying out there and working with Nick one-on-one a little bit on some things. And then, Kevin will want to jump on a plane and take that 18-hour trip out there.
Kevin looks forward to a little
19
adversity.
hours, maybe.
Kevin likes traveling.
It's good for him. Hopefully, they lose his luggage a little bit, and he'll have to wear the same clothes for a week.
I see Kevin in the same clothes every day anyway.
Right?
Now, when these guys are in college, they know the majority of their opponents and even have faced many of them before. But wrestling internationally, they don't know who they're going against. So how hard is that to game plan for?
I think it's one of those where you just know you're going to see unique styles of wrestling. And I think that's what, when you get some experience internationally, you're ready for anything. And this is going to make Trent even that much better for folk style, going out there and seeing a completely different style of wrestling. And the luxury is U.S. right now is one of the best in the world at all levels. So I'm sure our style is unique and different towards other countries, and that's going to make it fun. That's what makes World Championships fun, because you never know who's going to come out, and you don't know anybody's name until you get out there and the tournament's over, and then you obviously see a guy bringing home a gold medal, and that's what makes it exciting, and looking forward to seeing him do that.
And at the time of us taping this podcast, we're right after summer school here and right before the fall semester starts. Some of your guys had the opportunity to go home and recharge for a couple of weeks before coming back to campus. And That practice room was awfully full during summer, too, as the new freshmen were all in town. Your impressions of how the newcomers adapted to being in college for those few weeks?
It's been great. I think this is, in my time, seeing summer workouts, I think this was the best off-season we've had as far as attitude and talent and just the demand to get better as a team. And I think that makes for a dangerous recipe coming in for the fall. And biggest thing is the attitude and the maturity that these guys have. And the exciting part about this is we don't lose anybody for 2 years. Every single guy on this roster will stay here for 2 years and won't graduate. So that's going to be a really good blend for team culture and just guys knowing and them setting the expectations and what they want to accomplish. And I saw a lot of that this summer. A lot of guys, probably the most intense workouts that we've had over the last several years. And I think some of that is just the way that these guys train. And it was fun to watch, and it's going to be fun to see these guys get out there and compete when the season starts up, because it's nice now for these guys to get a couple weeks off, regroup mentally, physically, and really reset what they want to accomplish for next year.
You mentioned they're here for 2 years, but are you worried on the other end where you don't have that strong senior who's leading the way? Some of the younger, now I guess they not senior, but example, these redshirt juniors, they are kind of seniors, so I guess they're filling that role. Yeah,
and even some of our freshmen probably are just natural leaders, and I think we've seen that now with a couple of the guys here that were young and stepping up to the plate when maybe you were expecting a guy that was here for 5 years to do it. It was some of our younger guys, and now they have the experience to do it and guide these guys. Because there's one thing for coaches to lead, and there's another thing for your athletes to lead, and we have that now with every class. And this freshman class we brought in is a very mature, experienced group of kids that, obviously college is college and it's new for them, but I like the maturity and the commitment and just the personality of this group. They're very weathered group that has been through a lot in their high school experiences, and it's going to show when we get here and start training in the fall.
I'm all about the rules around here, and no major changes for the upcoming collegiate season, but one rule that will go into effect: guys can now wear approved shorts like you see at some of these high school all-star events instead of a singlet during their match. Does that affect anything here at NC State?
Haven't really thought too much about it, other than maybe we need to get a set of something, see if we can design it. I'll leave it up to the guys what they want to compete in. I think it will be a little different when they're competing against a team and one team's wearing a singlet and the other's got the shorts and shirts on. So I don't know, it will be a little different, and it will be interesting as time goes on what rules do get implemented into the changes down the road, because I think we could use a few that would obviously help new fans understand what's going on if they're not truly invested into the sport over time, kind of like when you started off and you were asking what takedown was worth. So
I was asking, you never answered. That first year, I don't think you really liked me. You didn't talk to me.
You didn't come around. You were, I had to chase you around or put out some press releases, when we were getting...
Another rule. You got to love this one. Length of hair. You can go however long you want.
Yeah.
Good, bad, coaches like it.
Let it go. I think it's that time. I always never understood why they made athletes get up at 6 a.m. and shave when, I think sometimes that could be a setback on certain things that are happening. So I think it's good. I think it's, you look at all other sports, I don't think you have to worry about it. I don't know why wrestling, it doesn't interfere. Obviously, unless somebody's got hair that's too long and is going to get in the way when you're competing. But for the most part, I think that's all under control.
Since your time is limited and appearing on this podcast again, I really appreciate you being on this episode. I'll get you out here in this.
You almost finished that smoothie, too. I'm impressed.
I'm thirsty. This is my lunch. Early August right now, and you told me not to bother you with anything for a couple of weeks. So what are your plans before the guys come back to campus to start the fall semester on August 21st?
Yeah, we'll head down to the convention here this week and then, take a few days, kind of regroup and kind of reset just like the guys are doing. Recruiting obviously stays the main focus right now, and being able to officially go visit kids after the dead period ends here. We'll get some of those in and just kind of balance everything out as we get ready to start for our preseason. We've kind of restructured. Every year we sit down as a staff and kind of go over the stuff that we want to accomplish between staff goals and the plan to execute next year. And we sat down, did that. So we're in a really good spot. Just waiting for the guys to come back and we'll get the ball rolling. But yeah, it's next 3 weeks are a little laid back, but being consistent and work. And, it's a little different now when you have guys wrestling on the world championships, different ones, because it seems like the season blends together, folk style to freestyle, right back to folk style, and some of the guys continue to do freestyle. So there's really no off season anymore. It's just who can get away for a week at a time, and we're lucky enough to have a big enough staff that everybody can kind of take their week at different times, and we're going to do that over the next couple weeks.
Are you still El Presidente down at that convention?
I am. I got one more year, so this will, I guess at the end of this year will be my last year to do it.
You're not going to run for re-election?
No.
No, you're not?
No, I think it's always good. Get someone else's point of view in there and some ideas. Be good.
Now, I'm not into politics, but can you write anything and make it a rule and stuff? How does the president work?
That's where the misunderstanding is and how all this works. There's all the changes come through the NCAA and administrators. This group, the NWCA, is just somebody that pushes forward ideas that are based on what the coaches want. But the problem you have is some coaches don't put any time or energy in, like the ones that probably aren't going to go down to the convention. And then they get blindsided by some things that are talked about down there, and that's where the disconnect becomes. So hopefully as time goes on, we can get more and more people involved. And I think it will be healthy for our sport as we get the growth and everybody can voice their opinion and we put it together as one and try to move it forward. But I don't think you're ever going to get a room where every college coach believes in the same thing, but we have to find and do what's best for college wrestling and try to continue to grow. And there's a lot going on right now at the college level, and I think the growth has been good as far as fan base, but now we just got to get some more teams involved, some newer teams. Who would you like to see?
Would you see ACC expansion?
That would be great, right? If we could get a couple more teams.
We have a couple schools here that had wrestling at one point.
Yeah, there was a lot. Even the SEC had some really good wrestling back in the day, but we'll see. Maybe we can get some old administrators that work at some other schools now that are pretty well connected to have maybe some say in that can
make it done.
Fire.
Your reign of presidency is still there.
I wish that it was that easy, but
I know. I wish you did some lawmaking. It sounds like president just kind of goes and chills out down there.
Yeah, put the feet up, right?
Kind
of like what you've been doing the last couple of weeks here.
You deserve it, though.
Yeah.
But Pat, thanks again for coming on your own podcast. This was a big get. I was really excited to come over here today.
I'm just glad we could get you out of your office and around WB for a little bit.
I'm an award winner.
Anytime you want to come over, I'll get you a smoothie.
I'm winning awards left and right, so I'm very busy.
That's right. SID of the year. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Well, I was appreciating. I tried to drop that hint for you to bring it up earlier.
Well, we could have talked about that. So let's go over that.
The SID is a good behind the scenes role. But,
how did we come? So let me interview you a little bit here. Where did this first start, and when did you see it all coming together for you as SID of the year?
Well, I was campaigning very hard for it for the last 3 years.
No, you weren't campaigning. You were complaining.
I was complaining.
To me. I got those texts saved, by the way.
No, but in all honesty, I'm very proud of the award. I have to thank you and your staff. You guys have always been great, and I think we've been working 7 years together, and
yes.
Man, that seems like a long time.
Yeah.
But I will say, in the 7 years, all of your guys have been very tremendous. They always do anything I ask them to. That helps my job. You really have a great group of guys, and it goes a long way in helping promote the program.
Absolutely. I think it's a win-win. It get you that promotion you finally were looking for.
I'm waiting for the banner.
The raise.
I want the banner.
Banner, promotion. What do you want? The raise, the banner?
I want the raise first.
Which one do you... Let's go. Prioritize.
I'm going to go see Boo right after this. Pat, thanks for joining us. Try to take a couple good weeks off. We'll hit you back up in August when things are in full effect here.
You got it. See you then.
I want to thank everybody for listening today. This is your Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast covering all things NC State Wrestling. Until next time, Wolfpack Wrestling fans, go Pack.
The Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast is produced by the Mat Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, go to MatTalkOnline.com.